TJ Writes here. Today we are back with another installment of the Wayfarer reading vlog. I'm actually a little bit over 50% in the book. Unfortunately, somehow I managed to get a little nick in here, so I've put some tape on both the inside and the outside to make it a little bit better. The interesting thing about this, and I'm just going to open it so you can see, is this scene we actually got to see. And this is one of the reasons I picked the book up, because this cover is so cool. The disappointing thing about it, and I'm just gonna bring it a little bit closer, is that in the picture, Faraday has a sword. And in the book, she is this untrained, untested maiden of 18 years old who knows nothing about the world and therefore has no sword. That was super disappointing because I was looking for a warrior maiden. Now, she's going to play a pretty big role in the book. It's already implied in quite a lot of everything that's going on that she is very important. But sadly, no sword. I'm hoping one shows up soon. Well, one thing that really bugs me about the novel so far, besides the whole thing with the curls, that keeps coming up, but I think it's supposed to be an indictment upon the misguided beliefs of the people who trust in Arthur the Plowman, because they have a thing against curls, but the Forbidden, who are the bad guys, but they're not really the bad guys, spoilers, they have, as described in the book so far, like darker complexions and curly hair, so it's probably a thing in the book that is brought up as a thing to make the plow people different from the forbidden people, who are also different from the Icarii, who are pictured here. If you can see that, they have wings, and the people who live in the forest have antlers. I think they're the horned ones. So everybody speaks the same language, which is really weird. It's been thousands of years and everybody still speaks the same language. I mean, if you've ever been to even a place like England, you'll know that if you would go up to Scotland or down to Wales, completely different languages. Well, not so much in Scotland, but in Ireland. You have many different languages in one country, even though we nominally speak the same language. So it's kind of a weird world building point that everybody speaks the same language after thousands of years. And so they can all conveniently understand each other. It's kind of the fantasy world's version of common. And I would just love it a little bit more if these people would run into groups that really don't know what they're saying. It just makes it more fun. It's something I've included in my own novel where they have to struggle through the language translation barrier, and that's been, was a really fun thing to write. Something that I did think was really cool was using jewelry as a method to get help. But what I mean by that is, in older times in our world, when women weren't really allowed to own much, they could own jewels. And if for some reason their husband died and didn't leave provisos for them, or if they had to run away, or something were to happen, they could use their jewels to buy food and other necessities. And that's exactly what happens here. Faraday, the main character, the woman main character, because there's a man main character, she has these jewels that she wears, and they get into a situation, her and her companions, where they don't have any food or water or clothes or anything like that. So they give the jewels to a farmer who will be able to help them by giving them their donkeys, and I think they give them donkeys, they may give them horses, but also to give them any kind of help that they need. And then the farmer will be able to sell the jewels for far more than they're worth, of course. A little world building question I had is that sometimes you look at something like that and somebody says, oh, now you have these jewels, where did you steal them from? So I don't think that's ever going to get touched upon, but it's something I thought about when I was reading it. Another thing that just kind of threw me off, and I'm bearing with it because the world building is good, but we are supposed to just love and trust the main characters, Faraday and Axis, because of the main characters. And it's kind of presented in the narrative that they are the chosen ones doing what they have to do. And I'm just kind of like, I wish you would give me a bit more reason to like them. Because it's like, oh, Faraday loves Axis. She's spoken to him like 3 times. Why does she love him so much? Give me a little bit more reason. And like, it's not that he saves her life or does anything noble, because he does, but she's in love with him before that, before they even have a chance to really know each other, and it's kind of annoying. Another thing that's annoying is that Faraday has lived all her life believing this particular religion in their world. And then a couple things happen, and well, she completely has thrown aside all her old teaching, devoted herself to this new path. Now with Axis, it's a bit more realistic because he's really struggling with, oh, the spoilers, question of my parentage means that I'm no longer who I thought I was, and now I have to go back and forth between, do I help these people? Do I murder these people? Do I help these people? Do I slaughter these people? Do I help these people? Do I kill in the name of the plowman? I don't know. I'm very conflicted, and that's realistic. But Faraday's like, oh, I had a bad experience with the trees, but now I'm gonna be tree friend because I saw the Stargate, and that's super wonderful. And if Faraday was 16, I could totally accept it, but she's 18. You're supposed to be a little less naive, and when you're older, you're a little more set in your beliefs. When you're younger, you're a little bit more malleable. So if she was like, even 15, 15's a little young, but 16, I could get down with that. 18, it's a little unbelievable. But the world building is really good, and I'm enjoying it. It's a long story, but the richness of the world that I'm living in, I can kind of accept a little bit of stupid characters. And that's the fun thing about fantasy. I mean, definitely we want a good plot and good stories and everything like that, but if you got really, really tight world building, I mean, I've been playing Skyrim for 10 years. I still haven't finished the game yet. I got it the week after it came out, and I just love living in that world. Just run around, build houses, kill Draugr, do stupid stuff, and it's just really fun because the world building is so immersive, and I can forgive a lot with this book because the world building is good. Speaking of the Stargate, that again is this right here that you see. Hang on, let me show you the whole thing. You can see the entire Stargate, and it's this big pool. So it's kind of, it's implied that if you go through this pool, you die. Unless you have these special powers and abilities to be able to do that. Most people, it's this weird thing where like they die and then they go through after they die, but some people can go through while they're still alive, and I'm pretty sure Axis is supposed to do this. He's going to unlock the secret of the Stargate. Now, the weird thing about it is, because there's stars, my brain instantly goes, aha, we're in sci-fi. Sci-fi in my fantasy? It's more likely than you might think. Anyway, I'm kind of excited to see how this turns out. I mean, we can see like little planets and galaxies, and all sorts of cool little ideas in the Stargate here. I think that's the main pull for me, is to see how this all comes together. But going back, did mention the Forbidden, and we got to meet some of them who live in the Averenheim. It's this kind of forest called the Shadows Wood by the people who have taken over the land and chopped down most of the forests. And they live there, and they are protectors of the land, and they believe that when they are doing things correctly, they help the seasons and the times and all that nature stuff. Now, it's kind of implied that that might not be the case, but it also might be. So they believe it. Whether or not it's actually true, we'll see as things unfold. But they definitely do have some cool abilities, one of which is to talk to the trees. They have some healing powers. There was a cool bit where we got to meet one of these people, and then we caught up with them later when they got captured, and then Axis had to free them, and then we had this character called Azure, and she met this woman called Goldfeather, who I'm pretty sure is Axis' mom, and it's not really stated that it's his mom, but it's implied pretty strongly. So I will check back in at the end of the book and see if it's revealed or not that that is his mother, but they definitely met face to face, and she's like, this guy seems super familiar. He had the eyes of these particular type of people. He also kind of looks like my other son. We'll see what happens. The other neat thing about this book is these people called the Sentinels, and they're part of the prophecy that says when the Sentinels walk abroad, that means Gorgriel the Destroyer is there. We've had a little bit of a confrontation with Gorgriel. It's one of these things where you can tell that he's not at full power yet, and so I really doubt that they're going to have a huge confrontation with him at the end of the book and get everything all squared away. The way this seems to be looking to build up is, and since I know this is a series, that we're gonna probably complete some individual character arcs by the end of this book, and then really jump into defeating the bad guy. It feels very much like some other popular fantasy series about people who shall not be named, who appear at the end or toward the middle as we get further along of each book, and then become more and more powerful until there's a final defeat in book 7. This kind of feels like that, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But currently I am in chapter 37. Why don't I read a little bit? This will be kind of weird, but here we go. "Look," Goldfeather said, echoing Azure, twisting the woman's upper body around with her hands so that the others could see. The Ava gasped in horror. Running down Azure's back were the raised and red scars that looked to be the result of years of repeated vicious beatings, running down either side of her spine, their tracks ruining her pale skin. She was marked for life. In all the years Goldfeather had known Azure, she had never mentioned this to her. Goldfeather raised her eyes to Barsaby challengingly. "Well?" Barsaby was shocked. As a healer, she had never seen anything like this. Abuse of children was rated close to murder within Ava society. But did it justify murder? Spoiler alert, this man beat his daughter for years and years, and she self-defense attacked him when he was going to attack a child, and he fell on his own knife and done killed himself. So, yeah. Shra scrambled out of her mother's lap and toddled across to Azure. She touched the woman's forehead and then glanced back to Raum. "Accepted," she said clearly. Raum frowned. "Shra? What do you mean?" "Accepted," the child repeated, almost angrily now. Azure looked up, eyes still bright with the shame that the Ava had seen her back. "After Hagen died, Shra did the strangest thing." "What?" Raum and Barsaby both said together, leaning forward. "She wiped her fingers in Hagen's blood and then ran them down my forehead. And then she said, 'Accepted.'" Goldfeather looked at the two Banes. "What does that mean?" "I'm not entirely sure," Raum frowned, "but perhaps it indicates that she accepted Azure's father's death as a sacrifice to the mother. It is strange. I don't know exactly what Shra meant." So there we go, a little weird part of the book. This poor girl feels so much guilt over the fact that her abusive father accidentally fell on his own knife. She's like, "Oh no, I murdered him." And it's like, girl, he beat you so bad you could barely walk. So, he was about to kill a child. Make your own determination about what his fate should have been. Anyway, my last point to mention is that there is a spy among the ranks, Brother Gilbert, who is reporting everything back to the brother leader, Jamie, and it's interesting to see how that's going to play out, because we definitely have some people that are not going to be loyal to Axis, because he's leading 7,000 men, and he was like, "Oh, 7,000 men should go with me," and then like 500 of them got killed already in an attack. So yeah, you could have lent those 500 men and they would still be alive. Axis is kind of stupid, but I do like the fact that he plays musical instruments because I'm a musician and I relate to that. Well, that's where I will stop part 2 of this series for now. I will check back in when we reach 75%. Until next time, happy reading!